After I finished The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I sat with the book for a while trying to figure out Lucy Gray. I couldn't do it. I still can't. Not fully. She's one of the most memorable characters I've encountered in recent fiction, and I cannot tell you with confidence what she was thinking for most of the book, whether what she felt for Snow was real, or whether she even survived. And that inability to come to a conclusion about her character is not an accident. It's the whole point, and something I have used in my recently published book, The Living Weapon. Many writers think it's their job to give the readers answers, but Suzanne Collins understands the opposite. And what's fascinating is she doesn't just withhold information in one way. I counted 7 distinct types of uncertainty Collins creates in Ballad, each one doing different emotional work, each one producing a completely different effect in the reader. This isn't just about being vague, it's about knowing which questions in your story to leave open. Once you understand the difference, you'll never think about reader engagement in the same way. From this moment on, there are spoilers for A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The first layer of uncertainty that Collins builds is about character, more specifically, character motivation. From the moment Snow meets Lucy Gray, there's a question hanging over everything. Is she genuinely falling for him, or is she performing affection because he's her mentor, the only person who can actually help her survive? She has every reason to perform, and the reader doesn't know. Collins gives us enough genuine warmth between them that we can believe either way. What this does psychologically is turn the reader into an investigator. You're not just passively absorbing the story anymore, you're building a case, analyzing what she says, what she does, how she looks at him. The reader becomes active. And crucially, even when Collins later confirms that Lucy Gray did genuinely like Snow, because when he shows up in District 12 after the game, she still chooses to be with him, there's still that residual doubt. The seed has been planted. You can never be completely certain. But Collins goes further with Lucy Gray than just her motivations. She makes us uncertain about Lucy Gray's identity itself. Lucy Gray is always performing. It's her survival mechanism and her nature simultaneously. She's a strategic performer, and she's a genuine and scared girl who just wants to survive. And these identities coexist without resolving into one simple explanation. Collins never lets us decide which version of Lucy Gray is the real one, because they're both real. That creates a specific kind of fascination in the reader. The same fascination in life we feel towards people we can never fully categorize. Characters we can't pin down feel more alive than characters we can. And with Snow's character, Collins does something related, but in reverse. Snow is our narrator. We're inside his head for the entire book, and yet he doesn't even understand his own motivations. We equally question his true feelings towards Lucy Gray. However, with Snow, it's even more unnerving because of how nefarious he comes across. The most striking example is near the end at the cabin. He goes out after Lucy Gray with the gun. He looks at it, thinks he should pull it back. He doesn't, and he himself doesn't fully understand why in that moment. But we do. We know the reason Snow has taken that gun is because at some level he's already decided what he's willing to do. He just hasn't admitted it to himself, but we know. And the fact that it's unconfirmed even in his own internal monologue creates something like quiet horror. We can see further into him than he's willing to look. That's a subtle form of dramatic irony, and it's deeply unsettling. His actions speak loudly even as he himself rationalizes, and it's those rationalizations we see in his thoughts on page, but we are also able to see the contradictions in his actions. Once Collins has made us uncertain about who these people are, she layers in uncertainty about the events between them. There's a specific moment near the end of the book where Snow is looking for Lucy Gray and a snake bites him. He immediately concludes she planted it, a deliberate attempt to kill him. But Snow is an unreliable narrator, and earlier in the book, Lucy Gray warned him that snakes nest by the rocks near the lake. He was stumbling around exactly where snakes are known to be. Did she plant it or not? We don't know, and that question is still being debated by readers today. This creates a particular kind of frustration, not unpleasant, but the frustration of an itch you just can't quite scratch. There's something in our brains that just can't let go of an unresolved question. And that's what keeps the reader thinking about the book long after they've put it down. The key is laying the groundwork for both possibilities equally. Collins gives us substantial evidence that Lucy Gray did plant the snake, and substantial evidence she didn't. Neither reading collapses under examination. The uncertainty about who these people are and the uncertainty about what happened between them reinforce each other. You can't answer did Lucy Gray plant the snake without first answering who is Lucy Gray really, and you can't answer that either. And then she adds a third layer, the deepest one. We don't know what happened to Lucy Gray. Snow searches for her, doesn't find her, she's gone. Did he shoot her? Did she escape? Is she still out there somewhere? Notice though what Collins chose to resolve and what she chose to leave open. She resolved Snow's fate. We know exactly where he ends up, who he becomes, how his story ends, partly and because of the other books that she has written. But Lucy Gray, she left permanently open. One thread closed, one thread open forever. That's a deliberate choice. The satisfaction of Snow's ending makes Lucy Gray's open ending more haunting by contrast. The reader fills that gap with what they want to believe. If they liked her, for example, they'll want to believe she survived, lived out her life somewhere beyond Panem. But the doubt never fully disappears. That's how a character can stay in your reader's head for years. And then there's the deepest uncertainty of all. Was Snow always going to become how he ended up? Everyone around him experienced the same war, the same deprivation, the same loss. Tigris had the same capital upbringing and turned out completely different. Sejanus had lots of trauma as well and was very different. Same with Lucy Gray. Collins explores the concept of nature versus nurture in the book, but she deliberately refuses to resolve it. She leaves it structurally open, and what that creates in the reader is internal conflict. You start arguing with yourself. You become invested in finding an answer that isn't there. That kind of engagement is one of the most powerful things a story can generate. The reader, after they finish the book, will continue to carry the argument with them. Uncertainty isn't one tool in your writing, it's a family of techniques operating at different levels. Who your characters are, what happens between them, and what any of it even means. And each type produces a completely different effect. Here's a list of all the different categories of uncertainty, of open questions that Susan Collins uses in this book. It's character motivation uncertainty, which creates suspicion. It makes the reader an investigator. Identity uncertainty creates fascination. Characters we can't categorize feel more alive. Narrator self-knowledge uncertainty creates dread. We see further into the character than they can see themselves. Factual uncertainty creates obsession. The brain won't let go of an answered question. Relationship uncertainty creates melancholy. We mourn something that was not even fully named. Fate uncertainty creates longing. The story stays open in the reader's imagination. Moral uncertainty creates internal conflict. The reader carries the debate with them long after the book is finished. Collins uses all 7 simultaneously in Ballad. That's why the book has the tension it does. You're never certain about any one thing, and each level of uncertainty is doing different emotional work on you at the same time. Your job as a writer isn't to withhold information randomly, but it's also not to just give all information freely. It's to decide which emotion you want your reader to feel and then reach for the specific type of uncertainty that creates it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might like the video of when I broke down the writing technique that makes Homelander from The Boys such a terrifying character, at least before season 5. That being said, AA Watson out.